Hence the Vicky comment. I know.
Is that for me?
Go ahead. Hasn't started yet.
You're that person.
Nope, because I put all the candy in this one bag and sneak it in. So these chips are so loud I couldn't hear them apart. Yes.
All right. You're any good? All right, good evening. Welcome to the Independence City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. We're all down here because it's easier than moving the meeting upstairs and downstairs and upstairs and downstairs. Sorry I have my back to some of the audience. It's just the way the room is set up. So anyway, let the record show that everybody's here except Councilor Roden, who is excused. And she had let me know previously. Council members, you have minutes of the of two previous meetings in front of you, and do they meet with your approval?
Vote to approve a move to approve is provided. Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're going to go to visitor comments, and we're going to start off with Vicky McCubbin. And you're welcome to come up here. And she's coming up to remind everybody, under visitor comments, we are listening only. We don't have a back and forth or a conversation. This is just a one-way communication. Thank you for being in front of council tonight.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Vicky McCubbin. I live in Independence Air Park. And I was recently in attendance at a community health assessment discussion group that was held at our wonderful new Community Resource Center over in Monmouth. And it was to look at health concerns in Marion and Polk County, and there was a lot of emphasis on the ruralness of our counties. And besides looking at things that were barriers to health, we also spent a lot of time talking about the things that are positive things that we have in our area for our health. And all three, park, museum, library, were mentioned numerous times by almost everybody who lives in the Independence area. There are some people from West Salem and places beyond, but everybody had positive things to say about all three of those. And I know in the work session you're going to be talking about the levy, and so I just want to make comment to say that people notice and are supportive of all three of those. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we continue forward, I do have to remind folks that we do have a 5-minute limit on each speaker. Next speaker of the day is Ann Scheck. And you're from Salem, right?
No, well, yes, my one post office box is in Salem, but as you can see, my home post office box is here. I think I promised you that I would let you know the outcome of the Secretary of State letter of inquiry that I sent regarding my inability to get media inquiry answers in what seemed to me violation of your stated and posted external media policy. My concern was tax dollars. I did receive back from them. Their recommendation was to bring the issue to you. So once again, I am doing that, and I will read the thank you letter that part of it that pertains to you, that I'm sending them. The suggestion was made to bring the matter to the city manager and the city council. I am doing so once more. As I have indicated from the outset, I have been fully transparent about my inquiry with the Secretary of State. As a publisher and reporter of Tramark News, I call for transparency and strongly advocate for it, so if I didn't subscribe to this myself, I wouldn't be upholding the standards I seek in government. The city manager, who sought to have me removed from the county newspaper when my coverage appeared in it during the pandemic, apologized for her actions to me, including what I perceived to be a pledge that the city's communications director would answer media inquiries. This was part of the stated policy posted on the city's website. However, subsequently, she hasn't done so. Also, city staff have told me they have been warned by the city manager not to speak with me, though some others outside the community and some within this have found this to be an indicator of city administration. That is not why I brought this to your attention. It is the worry I have about tax dollars. When the communications director fails to answer these inquiries, I have turned to the city recorder with time-taking public records requests. The city is facing a tough financial squeeze, and I am conscious of it. I believe the city manager, who has often mentioned she is a lawyer, may see the city like the corporate clients she apparently once had. Government, of course, is paid for by people. Elected officials are voted to represent and to serve them. It is an entirely different system, and the press has been given a constitutionally enshrined role. To that end, as a result of your suggestion, I am submitting a legal report citing copious case law that shows prohibiting employees in a government agency from speaking to the press abridges their rights, is unconstitutional, and creates liability when retaliation occurs. I am not sure this will help clarify, but it is my way of making a clarifying effort with both the city I cover and the city council that serves it. Thank you. Here's the report. I'll give it to Karen.
Mr. Rhodes, you are our next speaker. And you live here in Independence. I just want to report that it's on the card. Good evening.
Good evening,
Welcome.
everyone. Yes, my name is Mike Rhodes, for the record, and I live in the Air Park. Webster defines integrity as firm adherence to a code of especially moral and artistic values. I prefer integrity as a reflection of what you do when no one is looking. After observing the city council and staff in action in your decision-making processes, I start to wonder just what your individual qualifications are to be doing this job. I attended my first city council meeting over a year ago just to listen and observe. Afterwards, I sent an email to all of you, noting that the city website has zero information about any of you, including the mayor. I had said the city owes it to its citizens to know just who is representing us. Picture and email address are meaningless. As of today, that hasn't changed. As I recall, I didn't get a response from anyone, which made me wonder how much you care about our feedback. The last couple of meetings I've attended have certainly proved that to be true. Our time speaking to you seems merely to be a procedural formality. I recently found out that Councilor Roden is a former Navy nuke. I guarantee you, none of you on the council knows what it takes to graduate from the Navy nuclear program. These people are the best of the best, and you would be wise to heed her counsel. She was right about putting the museum on an independent path of self-sustainability. You voted no. She was right.
No, it wasn't. My apologies. Please go ahead.
She was right that you don't include unfunded capital projects in a budget. I've spoken to a retired accountant and also a CEO about this. Capital wish list projects belong in long-range strategic planning and only included in your working budget once funding is secured. If you need to come back to council for approval, that's what you need to do. You voted no. She was right to ask for a 15% budget cut from city staff to curb this outrageous budget inflation. Again, you voted no. What you did do is grow the budget 46% in a single year. You were way more interested in getting it done rather than getting it right. It's simply irresponsible. I'm seriously disappointed and all of you who so casually dismiss Councilor Roden. As a nuclear engineer and a large commercial nuclear power plant licensed operations supervisor myself for decades, the vast majority of my operating crew were Navy nukes. These people are smart, streetwise, success-driven, and trustworthy to a fault. We are trained to push back, to ask questions, seek truth, trust, but verify. I'm sorry Don's not here, but thank you for the record. Thank you for your personal sacrifice and service to this nation and the city. I see similar qualities in Councilor Joe. You also seem to dismiss her with prejudice. There are only two here I've witnessed to apply critical thinking skills and ask probing questions. That says a lot about their character. The rest of you appear to be rubber stampers for the mayor and city staff. Get along, go along to get along, and in some cases, yes, get along to get ahead. What I see here are followers led by some narcissists. I've not witnessed innovative contributions on your parts that benefit the citizens, and I wonder why. However, you've certainly been innovative in picking our pockets. To the city manager, as far as managing city affairs, I've learned that you're a lawyer, not a manager. The difference between trained managers and engineer types versus lawyers, we deal in definable, measurable facts. Lawyers are trained in concocting convincing stories. Facts can be fluid and fleeting. Truth is irrelevant. It's always about the storytelling. You hire lawyers to do your shady work. You hire managers and engineers to keep the machine between the ditches. That always raises huge red flags for me because integrity is not at the top of the list for lawyers, as evidenced by the propensity to intimidate others with threats, suing to silence them, and even approaching their employer in pursuit of intimidation. That is unethical and a willful abuse of power and trust. This here is not a game. This is the people's business. It's not your business. All of you work at the pleasure of the people. Never forget that. Don't underestimate your constituents. We know more than we say, think more than we speak, and notice more than you realize.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Winningham. Good evening.
Good evening.
From here in Independence.
Thank you. Right across the walkway.
Yes, sir.
I was here a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about the trail, and I won't belabor the same points, but I wanted to mention, I believe Miss West met one of my trail buddies out on the trail as you were up looking to see if you could find some way for a detour for us. And thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And I have two questions. The first is, we still haven't seen anything going on. The trail's still open. Do we have a new start date? What's happening in that regard? And the second one is, during the 4th of July festivities, the parking was blocked along Main Street from park out to the dog park. And it had pylons out that created about a, 10 or 12 foot space along there. And I was naive enough to think that maybe that was the solution so we'd have a place to walk. And I walked down that, and it gave a very nice protected feeling walking between the dog park and the park, which would be our detour route. So I was hoping that maybe you would be able to consider putting those up once we start the construction again on the detour for our trail. And that's all I had. I love Independence. Thank you for all your work you put into it. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Next person is Rochelle Odia? Rachel. Sorry.
And everything was Raquel, Michelle, everything.
Sorry.
Rachel.
I missed it.
Okay,
Good evening, welcome.
thank you. I don't have like a real thing right now, so we're gonna kind of vibe with it, but, I'm Rachel, some of you might know me, I've been here forever. I used to work at J. Bella's as a waitress, I worked at Lenore's Ghost, I worked at Independence Bar and Grill, I worked at WSD as a special education, transition specialist, vocational rehabilitation specialist, representing multiple school districts. But that was not the reason I'm here today. It does have to do with kiddos though, just like that. I have been working with many people in the community, specifically people that want to help with the riverfront issue and the most recent drowning we've had. Sadly, it was another teenage boy who lost his life, and he was not from our area, nor did he have adequate knowledge, nor the family of the water we have, and the severity of the situation. So I have started working with, Craig Pope, Melanie Garcia, Corinne, who's from Non-Believes, Jason, who's from your own public works operations, IT, HR, but I still need more help. Not done there. Signs are going to be provided by the correction department. She's going to install those. We're going to get a new kiosk. We're going to get 4 new signages. I'm going to make some extra areas for some extra life jackets to go up. That's all great. It's the lovely part. Corinne from Naughty Leaps is going to provide life jackets ongoing every year, so she will make it around $8,500 donation to keep those supplied. The new kiosk will have a space for 16 life jackets that will close, and it will be able to be sealed and locked in the off seasons or at night if we choose to close it. It's up to you guys. And then we'll have another spot going down the ramp, and so we're just upping it a little bit. However, my next issue that I'm talking about is the fact that we don't have anything for emergencies down there. When I say that, I mean, if you've been to a college before, you've probably seen like the blue light, red light that people can press in instance of emergency. If you are from out of the area and you call 911, you can get routed to, say, California. You could get routed back there and then be like, where are you at? What water emergency do you have? And not know. You could also get routed to the nearest state or the nearest county and not have a real description. Another issue is if someone's trying to dial 911 and they're in a panic, they can misdial a few times. There's a large immigrant population here, so sex trafficking is a big risk next to the waterfront. And then we have the ongoing issue with this kids. They can fall in the water, toddlers can go in there, they cannot put a life jacket on, kids will park without parents. And so if a water emergency happens, having that button, if the kiddo doesn't have a phone, they can press it. I did talk to the city, and there is an electrical outlet down there that we can install a waterproof button that would have a little cover. It would be able to be turned off with the rest of the electricity at that time, so when it goes underwater, it'd be sustainable and protected. I did work to figure out funding for the kiosks and signage. Issue is, where am I getting my funding for my button? And my big thing is I don't know what our city parks budget is. I don't know who's in charge of that. I don't know if that's something that you guys can bring to attention. And I'm just trying to figure out how we could call on the community a little more, because right now I have like the community front, and like, let's do it. And I'm lacking the support of the community officials. And I really am going to every door at this point and being like, help, let's stop this. I think one blue light is worth one light being saved. I think it's worth it, and I think our community deserves it. So my big question is, can we get some support? Can we get some backup on the light? Can we talk about what the emergency light would be, and then the reasons about getting funding and how we can get there? That's it today.
Thank you for coming in, thank you for your passion. It's noted, and I'm gonna speak that it's heard.
Oh, good, thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Okay, and Amber, oh,
Yes.
thank you. You saved me from, well, welcome to City Council.
Thank you, I've never done one of these before. I do not have a professional presentation whatsoever, so I'm just gonna speak as somebody who's lived here for a very, very, very long time, and just speak to you as people as I hope you would speak to me. I lived here for off and on probably over 30 years. My grandfather owned DJ Battery, that's now considered the Stonehenge, I guess is what it's called now. I went to IES, and Talmadge, and Central. Been in trouble a couple times by some of these guys in the room when I was younger, and I'd like to say I've turned over a new leaf. This is my home. No matter where I've been, this is my home. And no matter how young I've been to how old I am now, Independence is known for our Hispanic community and known for those seasonal workers who have been here for years, since I was a child, to come here and make money for their families. On Wednesday, 2 days after, I believe, the child who Rachel was speaking of, Gregorio, I went down to the Riverview Park just to offer some prayers, see if I could bring lunch. It was hard to approach them. I'm a mother of 3, I have a son who's 11 years old. I couldn't imagine being in a strange place of people that I don't understand, people that I don't know, and my son drowned. This is one of the most devastating things I've ever witnessed. They were lost. They didn't have answers. They didn't know what was coming next, and they still didn't have their son. So when I went down there to offer prayer and food, you know what they said to me? Do you think that you can help the community? Please come down and help me find my son. He's still gone, and I don't know what's next. I was disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't believe that this father who came here to make money for his family didn't know what was next. He said that he didn't feel like he was being heard. He felt a little worried or scared at times to talk to officials, and I understand that. But there wasn't a lot of follow-up, so he felt. People might feel different, but that is how he felt. He said to me, my son would still be here if there were proper precautions and bigger signs to let us know how dangerous this river is and the drownings that have happened here. There was nothing that we seen that saw caution. There was no life jackets hanging up on the life jacket board, and there's not even anything in Spanish or another language that even talks about the important safety of life jackets. It's all in English, and it's faded. So the father feels that his son would still be here if there was proper precaution by the river and bigger signs, not ones this big that people miss, letting them know how dangerous this river is. All of us who have lived here for a long time, we know, but the students who come here that's never been here before, they don't know. People who don't speak English, they don't understand. They see an inviting river, it looks beautiful, people get in, people get out, they don't know. So there's lots of ways that you can look around this, but we need better. I think that there's been too many lives lost in that river already. I personally worked with that family every day until they were gone. It was one of the most heartbreaking things I was ever a part of, and not once, not one time did I ever see an official or anybody from the city come down and offer anything other than the mayor's wife from the food bank. Not prayer, not nothing. Not, can we do anything to help? Is there anything that you guys need? I got on my Facebook page that I created in 2018 and made a post for people to come and help these people raise money to get their son back home to California. Not one official came down at all to offer anything of condolence, help whatsoever. That's not the home that I remember. When I was younger, we grew up and we stood together, and our officials were there. So I don't know what's going on, but I hope that I'm never in that place where I'm in a strange place that I don't know and nobody's willing to help me. Because I'm sure everybody in this room has sons and daughters. So could you imagine going down to a river that looks inviting, being in a strange place, your son's gone, you have help for the first 2 days, real good help, and then it just kind of dissipates. That was rough. That was rough to hear, that was rough to watch, and it was not easy. It was one of the hardest things that I've been through. I worked in the medical field for the last 6 years. It's the worst trauma I've ever seen a family go through. So the fact that nobody went down there from our home to offer these people anything, a prayer, nothing. So I don't know how many in this room don't care, but I do. And I will stand on this until the day that I die to make sure that these people are heard. And when they come here to work in our farms, that they feel like they have the help that they need in emergencies. So I hope that we can make a change. I hope that the City of Independence and the park can get some better signs that raise awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, we now have scheduled a presentation by the Central School District Facilities Committee. I think that's Susan Graham and Emily Metzger. Come on up.
So,
Good evening,
boy,
welcome.
that's right.
Good
Sorry.
evening, welcome.
I did not mean to blind myself temporarily, sorry about that. So anyway, good evening, thanks to all of the council members and all of the community members that are here tonight for taking just a few minutes to listen to Central School District Facilities Committee. I'm Susan Graham. I live down the road, down Corvallis Road, which when I'm in the building, it's that way, there you go. And I'm here today in my role as Vice Chair of the Facilities Committee, but I'm also Vice Chair of the School Board in Central School District as well. And with me is Emily Menser. She's the Communications Coordinator for the district. So before I talk about what the Facilities Committee is and what we're doing, I did want Emily to go kind of quickly over how we got here, why do we even have a facilities committee? So she's going to go over a little of that history first. And you all have this handout that I left at your desk also.
All right, so thank you for having us, everybody. Hello. So in 2021, right after COVID, fun times, we did a facilities assessment report, which is something that's required of all school districts to do. Probably something similar required for y'all of the city. In 2021-22, we contracted with Brick Architecture to complete a long-range facilities plan. This is a 10-year plan that talks about all the projects that need to be done, all of them. So obviously not all of them can be done, but at least they're all there in one spot.
And that's one of the things that we're required to do under Oregon law every 10 years, right?
Correct, yes, so that's also required. During that process, our firm worked with a lot of different community groups to try and get a figure on what their priorities were, so we could kind of define all of that. They came out with a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 projects, so the ones that were super important, and then the ones that maybe could be put off for, you know, toward the, if you had all the money in the world, you did the tier 1 first, and you did the tier 3 at the end of the 10 years, which no one has all the money in the world. So in 2023, the board of directors narrowed that focus to the priorities that they thought were the most important things to get done. And then they asked for us to put together a bond development committee because they were like, let's go, let's see if we can get the money to do these improvements. So we did a bond development committee last fall, and the committee came out of that and recommended to the board that we don't go for a bond. They said that we're not ready to do that, but instead asked us to put together a facilities committee and start to do some really good outreach to the community so that we could educate people on the condition of our facilities and why we need some of the things that we need. And so that's where we're at now. We assembled that committee in spring, and they've been very hard, especially the last couple of weeks with all of the events in everywhere, to show people kind of what's going on in our buildings. So we're inviting people in, showing them around, and that's pretty much how we got to where we are today. So we're here.
So the one of the things I wanted to mention specifically is Emily alluded to some of the outreach we did during this whole kind of planning and learning phase. There's multiple surveys. We had a couple of the committees that we put together were staffed by a diverse group of people from the community. So we've gotten a lot of input already, but one of the jobs of the facilities committee is to continue to get more input. And so in order to do that, we've been out in the community very, strongly over the last, I would say, month, right before 4th of July. We got a new webpage up, a community engagement webpage. We've been telling people about that. In fact, if you look at the brochure that I left with you, and we have these in English and Spanish available, the QR code down here in the corner will bring you to this new community engagement site. And there you can view videos that have video tours of some of the facilities, specifically Independence Elementary and Monmouth Elementary are included there, as well as a kind of a general overview of how schools are funded and different information that we thought that the community needed to understand better, have a way to learn about that was going to be simple and reliable. We also have the ability to make an appointment to tour some of our schools. In fact, we've done already 2 scheduled tours in Elementary, Monmouth Elementary, and there's one this Friday at Talmadge Middle School. All of those are on Fridays. We're going to start pretty soon, also having tours available on the weekends and in the evenings so that people can see, you know, firsthand what's inside of these school buildings. I think a lot of people that, you know, their main kind of connection to the schools is dropping their kids off in front or driving down Monmouth Avenue and seeing the newer facilities right there at Central High School and maybe Ash Creek on 16th. They don't see as much the older facilities or go inside and see some of the issues like the number of portables that we've got and the fact that most of those buildings don't have air conditioning, different things like that. So those things are much more real when you come down and see them. So we really would like to invite everyone, if they have time, to try and go down and visit at least one of the schools and get an idea of what we're dealing with. Because our job as a community and my job as a school board member is to educate the children in this community and to keep them all safe. And we need the right kind of buildings to do that. And we need the community to understand where we're at to even have the opportunity to move forward. So that's where we're at right now. Look for us at all, like we're in Independence, we just started last Friday being at the concerts in the park. We're at the Saturday Farmers Market, we're up in Monmouth at the concerts also. There's so many things. Senior Center, all over town. You will definitely see someone from this committee, and please go up and have a chat with them if there's anything you have a question about or you just want to know how to get more information.
I have a question, Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
I don't see anything in your safety or security improvements that speaks to seismic safety.
That's definitely in the long-range facilities plan. In fact, that happens to be one of the things that we can go back and get also a partial grant from the state. So this whole process is very complicated, as I'm sure you can imagine, but because that's in the security side, that's very high up in the, I think that is a tier 1 project, and that's one.
Also in 2006, the community approved a bond for seismic improvements specifically,
Yeah.
and so there was quite a bit more
IES.
at IES.
Yeah, at
So there
IES,
has
they already
been some
did that.
work done on particularly our old buildings. So
But there's more, and there's money for that, so that's a good one.
Well, thank you for taking the time to come and visit with us and
Thank you.
share.
Sorry if we went over.
No, you're,
we did a little.
we're working together.
Thank you. Have a
Great.
good night, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go into reports, and I'll start off. I had the pleasure of recently, I was invited by the U.S. Department of Transportation and Main Street America USA to go on their nickel, they pay for it, to Washington DC to the Transportation and Climate Symposium that U.S. Department of Transportation put on in DC. I was speaking on rural downtowns and transportation. Also, they asked for input on federal and agency rules, how to make them easier to work with for rural communities. They took notes, and I'm told some of the senior administrators, they really appreciated hearing on the ground kinds of things. I also took the opportunity to talk with some of their funders about trolley funding, and also let them know that we've had some folks from the Federal Highway Administration come here to Independence, and that was very helpful as we've applied for some grants to that. So it was very positive. While I was there, I also had the opportunity to meet with Senator Wyden's staff and Senator Merkley's staff, and also talked about trolley. Recently also spent a day as part of a community panel for doing police chief interviews. There were 17 people involved in the interview process, and I was one of many, and I thought it was a good process. Recently testified in front of the Joint Legislative Transportation Committee. There's a hearing in Albany, talked about Highway 51 and 22. that there have been 10 deaths there in a 4-year period, 154 crashes, and that the planning for that project, you've heard me talk about that, and this council has indicated an ongoing interest in that. This has been working on since 1999, and I brought that to the 17 representatives and senators there, and I know I've been actively involved in it since about 2010, and I told them I shared with them some of the things that our Polk County Fire Chief shared with us the last time he spoke to us about the trauma of volunteers having to respond to crashes at that site, and then the difficulty. And also I mentioned the timing, that I used to make the joke that it'd be nice if this project was done before I'm dead. Well, I pointed out that ODOT has this on the list for possible construction beginning in the middle 30s. I think we made a point, at least the other mayors in the room said we did. This last few days I attended and was an invited presenter at the Oregon Mayors Association, talking about successful downtowns and main streets, and there are a number of the folks in the room who have committed to come and visit our community if they haven't already. Also, just as many of you know, as a retired Olympic team member, was able to talk to mayors around the state about sending a video, good wishes video to the U.S. Olympic team in Paris. And a number of cities around the state did. We did too. We sent a 45-second video with people saying, "Go Team USA," kids of all ages and a number of different businesses. It's 45 seconds, but it's playing in Paris in the housing for the U.S. team. And there are a number of other cities around the state who've joined us. And again, it shows independence, doing all sorts of good stuff for everyone. So with that, I'm going to go to, I have a council action memo, some appointments in the packet, and I would appreciate your approval.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question
Sure.
before we go there? Okay, so it looks like we have 2 that we're doing here. Were there any other applications received?
I don't believe there are any other applications in.
Okay, and how were those vacancies advertised to the public too?
I know that these particular ones came upon some staff recommendations through, we know Vicki McCoven, I know she's, so these were recommendations from staff that they talked to staff already about that. Anybody make a motion, please?
Yes, I move to approve the applicants as presented in the council packet for all the positions that have been applied for.
In a second? Can I get a second from anyone?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries. Councilor Morton, I think you have the library board and the museum board.
I do. I am the council liaison to both the Independence Library Board and the Independence Heritage Museum Board, which means I attend board meetings when they are held. I will be giving a brief report on each one, starting with the library. The library's hours were shortened in fiscal year 23-24 due to budget cuts. However, Library Director Patrick Bodley was happy to report to this council that circulation has, regardless of shorter hours, gone up, as well as attendance at library programming. Summer reading is underway with a few weeks to go, and based on recent reports, the library has just passed the desired goal of 1,000 participants of all ages, and that list keeps growing. The Youth Coding League, a very successful program, has been extended along with community-based funding. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library program enjoys double the expected engagement level. The Friends of the Library is a 501c3 organization that supports the library, and it has begun once again to be flourishing. At the Independence Heritage Museum, they also have very high visitor numbers, hovering at 12,000 visitors since the opening of the museum on April 30th of 2023. That is an exceptional number of visitors to a museum in a town whose population is 10,081 according to the sign. Museum displays are regularly rotated. The director takes advantage of many sources for exhibits, including the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. The museum curator manages a popular local exhibit currently featuring the historic ferry that used to run across the Willamette from the base of C Street. And coming or just opened is one about tailors, and that was a very popular soda fountain in town for, I think, 1,000 years or so. The Heritage Museum Society, also a nonprofit organization, is the support for the museum, and it has, including one appointment tonight, expanded in size and effectiveness and will continue to do so. That's it.
Thank you, appreciate that. Councilor Martin Willis let me know that she doesn't have a report tonight, and there'll be a report at a future meeting. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our city manager, and I'm going to ask her to stay seated because it's
a
painful.
typo. Councilor Martin Willis is the continuum of care representative, not me.
Right, and so I'm going to ask our city manager to report from her seat because it's painful to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I do apologize, I'm a little off my game tonight due to an injury. I'll try and do the best that I can. So I previously updated you all on the global outage that affected the city. And I just want to once again say how incredibly blessed we are to have a top-notch IT team. There are other organizations that are still not up and running from the global outage. Jason was able to get us fixed, and we are up and running. And we were up and running by mid-morning the day after, so that we could continue to serve our community. So I just want to say here at council, we're blessed to have this amazing character, and huge thanks to Jason. So, you know, I'm a member of the Oregon City County Managers Association. One of the things that we're starting to talk about is harassment of appointed officials. You're elected officials, I'm an appointed official. Harassment comes in a lot of different forms. Spreading false or misconstrued information, continual verbal or written attacks, harassing emails and phone calls, and others. I've been struggling with a form of harassment, and I'm done. After being chased into the ladies' room when I was struggling with food poisoning, after being informed it was going to be reported on because I wouldn't respond while I was in the toilet getting sick, I requested the publisher of the Ironized Observer for a different order. I was being harassed. I was being chased into the ladies' room when I was sick. And I was done. And that harassment continues. And I'm done. I've worked with staff to assess the costs involved. Staff has been receiving, or had been receiving, long rambling emails requesting information that we couldn't get without hours and hours of work from the public works director, from the communications director, from the city manager. When you put together those costs, the hourly rate of those, it was incredibly high. The decision was made to work with people who did not require that type of work. Karen has responded, as our city reporter, to requests for information, 15 to 20 minutes. That is a significant decrease in the cost of the staff hours that we had to deal with before, with all of those emails. I'm done with being harassed. So I'm telling you my side of the story. Moving on, we had 2 concerts since implementing a $5 admission at the concert series. As one would expect, there were some folks that weren't happy with the admission charge, but overall, most folks were relatively unbothered, and they were happy to be at the event. And they were getting a great show. I heard from staff that the first concert performers, where our folks paid $5 to see those performers, the next venue they went to was $30 for each person to see those performers. So we're excited that we're able to provide that type of entertainment at a reduced cost. What we've seen after paying credit card fees, the revenue for the first concert was just under $5,000, $4,824.55 to be exact. The revenue for the second concert was $3,571.28. The revenue helps to stabilize the general fund because the general fund doesn't have to transfer funds to tourism and events. And that's what the council was working for. That's what the budget committee was working for. And it is working. But importantly, for our community who love the concerts, it helps to keep the concerts a part of the summer series events for the future, not just for this year, but for the future. So council is working, and we hope it continues to work, and we hope we continue to provide those events. On other things, so as you know, we put into effect a public safety fee. Monmouth has also started their journey on our public safety fee discussion. I believe that was last week that happened. And the 2 cities who were 2 of the last holdouts, as was, I believe, noted in the Statesman Journal, which happens to be one of the papers that we work with closely, they were the last 2 holdouts. And so things are changing. I believe, Mayor, you don't have anything else for this particular point in time. I might have missed something, but I'll pick it up next time.
Okay, that's good. All right, moving forward, we have under new business, a new liquor license application for Rosetso Distilling. And I think Officer Cole, I think you have the duty on this.
Okay.
Please do.
Quick statement of issue for Rosetso Distilling LLC. They are applying for a distillery license through our city liquor license process. They will be renting a portion of 915 North Main Street where Divine Distillers currently is. That's a previous employer of Rosetso's owner-operator. Utilizing Suite 20, I believe, for that section of floor space for the distillery license. Backgrounds on both the owner-operator and the business. No items of concern or anything that would be disqualifying. So our recommendation is that that license be approved.
Any questions for the sergeant?
Just one.
Please.
Is this in addition to Divine Distillers or in place of?
In addition.
Okay.
I recommend approval of the liquor license application for Rosetso Distilling LLC.
Second.
I have a motion, second, is there discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries, thank you very much. The amending the municipal code relating to the Parks Board, Mr. Fisher, to you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Municipal code for the Parks Board has not been updated since 2006. Staff presented an updated code to the Parks Board on May 16, 2024, and the board approved and recommended to the City Council the adoption of the new code language. We provided a red line copy of that language and the changes in this packet. And are presenting to you an ordinance to modify the language in Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 3 of the Municipal Code. I will take any questions.
Questions, the material is in the packet, go ahead.
I guess why? Why take out the recreation part?
So recreation, the reason why we were taking out recreation is because the city does not provide a recreation component to the parks, like say YMCA or some other organization. So we're removing that piece of it, so it eliminates the confusion. If you want it to stay in, it can stay in. We're just trying to avoid the confusion.
It's just, they don't actually participate in anything having to do with recreation.
Yes, yes.
Additional questions for staff, and as I recall, the Parks Commission approved this also.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. Okay, this is an action item.
I move to read the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2024-04, in full as the text is contained in the council packet for the first time.
Second.
I have a motion, second discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries.
An ordinance amending the Independence Municipal Code, IMC, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 3, Parks and Recreation Board, and stating an effective date.
Second motion,
I
please.
move to read the proposed ordinance, Council Bill 2024-04, for the second time by title only.
Second.
Motion, second discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Thank you. The final motion, please.
An ordinance amending the Independence Municipal Code, IMC, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 3, Parks and Recreation Board, and stating an effective date.
Now the final motion, please.
I move to adopt the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2024-04.
Second.
A motion, second discussion. Thank you for taking care of this, committee members. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries.
The bill is passed and will be assigned ordinance number 1615.
Okay, authorizing budget adjustment for fiscal year 24-25. For you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Staff is asking to amend the 24-25 budget with the following items. After the budget document was adopted, staff received new information from the state of Oregon regarding our debt service and sewer fund. The amounts included in the adopted budget were estimates. The second item would be staff found an error in the facilities / vehicle replacement fund and in the general fund that needs to be corrected. We tried to fix this error before the budget was adopted, but it got lost in the process. Are there any questions?
Question from me. So all this is moving stuff around. There's no new additional expenditures, is that correct?
So impact to what we approved.
It's that we're paying less in debt. Less of our money is going to debt. Is that what is decreased sewer fund debt service by $155,660? So instead of going towards debt, it's going to something else. Is that?
Yeah, the difference is going into the contingency in the sewer fund.
Okay. This is an action item, folks.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
question.
please do. Excuse me.
Clarification, because I'm looking at numbers 1 and 2. Decrease sewer fund debt service by $155,660. Increase sewer fund debt service by $271,000.
It's principal and interest. What principal, bond principal went down by $155,660. The interest amount went up by $271,000. We were able to reduce the debt service reserve requirements by almost $214,000 and then increase the contingency by $98,000. Does that help?
Yes.
So it was more in interest? Is that?
Yeah, it was just, we had estimated based on some early information what the principal and interest payments were gonna be, and they were off. And so when they got us the final numbers, we adjusted.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
I
then
move
we're
that council approve resolution number 24-1612 to amend the fiscal year 2024-25 adopted budget.
Second.
motion, second discussion. Thank you for bringing this to us, by the way. I know it's pain trying to keep all the things in the right line. But it is
Just a spreadsheet, sir.
He says agree.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, council announcements. We have announcements? Okay, what we're gonna do is we're going to adjourn the council meeting and we're gonna, let's take a 5 to 7 minute break and then we'll come back and do the, we're gonna have a work session starting at about 7:30, 7:33 or 4, okay? Without objection, we're adjourned.